live in LG 106. This is your Heritage Late Night. Tonight's guest, Officer Mitch. And here's your host, Ashleigh Kennealy, the girl on Heelys.
What's up, guys? I'm your host, Ashleigh Kennealy, Heritage's new Walmart brand, Ellen DeGeneres. And we are back with this week's episode of Heritage Late Night. So, how was everyone's break? I forgot that we don't have a live audience. We just have a few people behind the cameras and some people in that room over there. Yeah! We support our crew. Anyways, auditions for The Little Mermaid are coming up, and after we did Big Fish, we must have thought that doing a musical with even bigger fish would be a good idea. And why not hop onto the Disney live-action remake cash grab and make a little live-action remake of ourselves? I'm just hoping that the cast is on Heelys like the Broadway version, or else I'm not seeing the show. But Rising Stars isn't the only club here doing big things. Have you heard of the Get Into College Club? Well, of course you haven't. It got shut down after one meeting because all the members were presidents, since they all needed it for their resumes. But it is about that time for Student of the Quarter. We don't know who they are, and neither do they. But we'll just hope that they get their certificate by the end of the year. But, let's just get on to what you are here to see. We'll be talking to Officer Mitch after this brief commercial break. See you guys then! Welcome back, everyone. For tonight's episode of HLN, we are going to be having the man, the myth, the legend himself, Officer Mitch. He has been our student resource officer here at Heritage for 6 years, so let's give him a round welcome. Hey.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
No problem. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm very good, yeah.
That's good. What made you originally want to come and be a student resource officer here at Heritage?
I've got to do a lot of cool things in law enforcement. I got to work patrol. I worked as a detective doing special victims.
Mm-hmm.
I could honestly tell you, I didn't know I wanted to be a school resource officer, right? I got lucky to get in this position, and from day one, from walking on to the campus at Heritage, I jumped head and toes into it, and I'm amazed by the fact, I'm lucky, I feel blessed that I get to work with students and get to see good in the world and deal with things of, cops are sometimes looked at negatively, but here on the campus, nothing like that. It's all positive, and I get to see students grow each day, and this will be my, 6th graduating class, and I get to see, students go from being, young kids to adults, and to me, it's a blessing every single day. So I love it.
That's awesome. So last year, every 15 minutes happened.
Yeah.
I know you played a big role with that happening. It was a really touching experience for a lot of students. I know it was for me, and I can speak for a lot of students on that. Can you tell us a little bit of what that was like, making that happen and all that?
So planning for every 15 minutes is very difficult. It's a year-long process. It's a lot of stress, but in the end, the message behind it is what's important. And in this day and age with young students or young adults driving and that type, we're already distracted by cell phones and music and those type of things. Well, then you add alcohol to the mix, and it's a scary world. And what people need to realize is life is very short, and we have to make decisions where we're not putting ourselves in any type of danger. And so with the every 15-minute program, it's strategically done around prom. And the idea behind it, 2-day assembly, first day crash scene, second day mock funeral, with the message of, hey, let's make good decisions. And the junior and senior class get to see it either their junior year or their senior year. And again, it is a lot of work, but the message behind it, hopefully if it saves one life, then that's what truly matters. So the hard work for me is all worth it in the end.
That's awesome. You were saying before that you have spent a bit of time in law enforcement, and I'm sure you've had a lot of like different experiences with that, but could you tell us about, I don't know, like maybe like a funny experience of something that might have happened to you? Yeah,
there's many I could choose. I've done a lot of dumb things, right? Things that are super funny, but I guess I do have one that sticks out or stands out to me the most is I was probably a 2-year cop. And before I came to Brentwood, I worked for a sheriff's department out in the country. And for me, the country's different than where I grew up. I grew up in South Florida. Then I went to San Diego. So I really wasn't around animals other than dogs, like domesticated animals. So this one day we get a call, I'm working day shift, and I get a call, I get dispatched to a vandalism. And I pull up to this house, and it's a country house, white house with a white picket fence. And I'm always worried about dogs, right? And being attacked by a dog, and I don't trust them. So I get to this house, and there's this white picket fence, and I go, and there's a chicken in the yard. I remember seeing it, and I'm like, I try to go in, I'm like, it's just a chicken, no big deal, right? So I open up the gate, and all of a sudden the chicken turns, and it comes at me with full wings, and his little claws are out and everything, right? And so I jump back and close the gate, right? But then as I'm doing that, the chicken starts standing guard, and he's walking back and forth, right? And he's guarding the fence, and I'm like, so I try to go in again. The chicken comes back at me, and I'm like, what the hell? So I'm like, you know what? So I pepper sprayed the chicken. I didn't know what else to do, right? I didn't know what else I was going to do. So I hit the chicken with the pepper spray, and it takes off and it runs into the bush, right? So then I go walking in, and I actually make it to the door. I knock on the door. Nobody's there. So I leave a business card. Go back to work. I get a phone call a little bit later. It happens to be that lady who called in earlier. And then I start talking to her. And I could tell she's an older lady, right? And she starts telling me whatever it was, her mailbox got damaged or something to that extent. And I say, can I ask you a question? I'm like, what's up with your chicken? And she's like, what? I'm like, yeah, what's up with your chicken? And she's like, well, what do you mean? And she's like, I'm like, it tried to attack me. And she's like, no. And I said, yeah. And she said, well, if you pick up that chicken, you rub its belly, it'll go to sleep. And I said, well, you might not want to pick up your chicken. And she's like, why? What'd you do to my chicken? And I'm like, I pepper sprayed it. And so she starts laughing real loud, right? And she's like, you need to come to my house tomorrow, pick up that chicken. And I said, okay, I will. But the part that I really messed up on is I told my partners that I work with. And so I show up to work the next day, and at the briefing table is this big plate of hot wings. And I'm like, yeah, they got me. So I did go back out to that lady's house, and then she picked up that chicken. And I said, I'm not doing it, but you can show me. And she rubbed that chicken's belly, and that chicken went to sleep. But dang. I look back on that day, and I'm like, what an idiot. Why did I tell my partners?
So
that was it. That was probably the funniest thing that's ever happened.
Dang, yeah. All right, so I think that's all the time that we're going to have today. Thank you so much for coming out
Thanks for having me.
Doing this with us. That was this week's episode of HLN, and we'll see you guys next week.